Hey guys, thanks for watching the video, but before it starts I have a quick message. As many of you will already know, the Imola Grand Prix has been cancelled due to the terrible flooding happening in the Emilia-Romagna region at the moment. We had made this video on Tuesday afternoon when the race was still on, so at many points I'm going to talk like it is still happening. All the information about the coming upgrades is still true, just imagine I'm saying Monaco, not Imola or Italy. The cancelling of the race was the right decision when you look at the photos of the flooding on the course and the surrounding areas. We hope everyone living there and their livelihoods are safe. With that all said, let's get started. The Imola race weekend is finally here, and by the time this video is live and you're watching it, it'll be less than 48 hours until the cars hit the track for free practice. This is the weekend that all the teams have been working towards since the season began. The first time we'll see massive upgrades on many of the cars. Could someone close the gap to Red Bull, or at least look like they have the ability to? Could a team make a jump like Aston Martin did? Can Ferrari and Mercedes prove they still know how to develop a car? Today we'll check out the biggest upgrades coming to Imola and what they could mean for the teams. Imola is intense. The legendary Italian circuit has hosted incredible battles ever since it staged the Italian Grand Prix back in 1980. And this year's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix sees two Red Bull drivers going in with a title in mind, while Mercedes and Ferrari look to claw back some performance. While we hope the racing itself will be exciting, the larger story in Imola will be the relative changes in performance between each car, or the lack of it. So without further ado, let's check out the biggest upgrades we'll see in Imola, starting with perhaps the most talked about team, Mercedes. The Silver Arrows realised as early as the beginning of March at the season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix that they'd made an error by sticking with their design concept from the previous year. There had been hope that untapped potential remained in the eye-catching zero sidepod look, first seen on their previous W13 model. But it quickly became clear the new car would be unable to challenge Red Bull, who in 2022 emphatically ended Mercedes' 8-year streak of constructors' titles and have won all 5 races to start the new campaign. It has been a case of damage limitation this season, with Mercedes battling Aston Martin and Ferrari to finish behind the Red Bulls, and 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton admitting he's been counting the days until the upgrades arrive. With the waiting almost over, we now have a good idea of what Mercedes will be bringing to Thursday's show and tell, the first time we physically see the upgrades at each race. When Mercedes unveiled their 2022 W13 model in Bahrain last year, the car's lack of side pods stunned the paddock. Pretty quickly though, they went from being the new hot thing to a leprous blight that no one wanted to touch. In Imola, Mercedes will finally replace the side pods that became the scapegoat for all their issues. Instead, we should expect something more traditional. There has been speculation that they will be a close match to Red Bulls, but something more similar to Aston Martin's is more likely, considering the two cars share the same engine, gearbox and rear suspension, so we know the side pods will fit on the car. Aside from the side pods, Mercedes had largely been reluctant to share much information about what it would be changing, but Toto Wolff gave his most detailed answer at the Miami Grand Prix earlier in May. What we are doing is introducing a new bodywork, and we're introducing a new floor, and we're doing new front suspension, he said. I expect Mercedes to get a lot of coverage on Friday because this really is going to be a brand new car. Will it help them catch up with Red Bull? Everyone on the team is saying it won't, but they'll be hoping it will at least cement them into place as the second best team on the grid, ahead of Team Fernando Alonso and the other guy. The Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix is Ferrari's home race, and their fanatical fanbase, the Tifosi, will be out in force, hoping for the team to find some form. Ferrari have been all over the place this season, and are in a pretty lonely 4th place in the constructors at the moment. They're unable to challenge Mercedes most of the time for 3rd place, and McLaren and Alpine are too slow to challenge them from behind. The Tifosi will cheer them on no matter what happens, but secretly they'll all be hoping for some improvement, and at least a podium finish to get excited about. Ferrari's upgrade program will continue this weekend, after the introduction of subtle floor and diffuser changes in Miami, that are part of the team's attempts to try and make the car a bit more benign. Although improving performance is the primary objective, Ferrari have been striving throughout the season to make the car more consistent in order to better exploit its potential across a wider range of conditions. A step was made in Miami, but the problem remains. Both Ferrari drivers have complained about a peaky and sometimes unpredictable car, with Charles Leclerc unhappy with the car's inconsistency and the fluctuations between a huge oversteer balance and then a huge understeer balance. Ferrari have long been rumoured to be bringing a massive update for the SF23 to round 6 of the championship, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Such is the expected scope that team boss Fred Vasseur was forced to deny talk of a B-spec car. "I don't know if you can speak about it," he said after the Australian Grand Prix. "It's not a B car, if that's what you want to say. We won't come up with something completely different. We'll continue to update this one and try to update massively." Ferrari are expected to bring a reprofiled side pod to the track, which will help improve the overall aero design. By reprofiled, I mean almost completely overhauled, potentially on a scale similar to Mercedes' rework. When combined with Miami's new floor, Ferrari will hope that the airflow over the diffuser, beam wing and rear wing will be stabilized, providing more consistent downforce levels over a full lap. The SF23 has shown flashes of pace this year, especially in Australia, where they got their only podium of the season. If they can stabilize the car, then they could move up into the fight for second place. That is, if the team currently occupying that position doesn't make some improvements themselves. Aston Martin has been the standout team of the year. What Red Bull are doing is incredible, but Aston Martin's jump in performance is almost unprecedented. There is still the question of whether Fernando Alonso is completely outdriving the car, or if Lance Stroll has just been unlucky to be answered. But obviously, there is pace to be found in the AMR23. Fernando Alonso's standards set a high bar for Aston Martin to reach when he decided to join the ambitious Formula One team, and they have more than exceeded them. But can they carry on that growth in Imola? Team principal Mike Crack is confident that his team can keep up with the Silver Arrows and Prancing Horse, and clinch second in the Constructors' Championship. "We're pushing quite hard on the developments, and we're quite confident that for the next few events, the data differences will not be too big as the development race goes on," Crack said. Mike has said previously that the team will be bringing a big upgrade to Imola, and to find some details, I had to dive into the Spanish media of all places. Being big fans of Fernando Alonso, they have proved a good source for Aston Martin news all season. Marca is reporting that in Italy, there will be more than just a low downforce rear wing for the circuit, as a new modified floor has arrived and also a redesign of the pontoons. There is also talk of a third part which could well be related to the suspension or the diffuser, although we can't confirm that until the cars appear in the paddock on Thursday. Aston Martin are the best positioned at the moment to actually challenge Red Bull during a race, but the main aim of these upgrades will be to keep the gap to the cars behind them. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed that they can close the gap to the front though. Perhaps the biggest disappointment this season has been McLaren. Lando Norris is often talked about as one of the best drivers on the grid, but his team have completely failed to find their feet with the new regulations. Considering he's stuck at the team until the end of the 2025 season, Norris will be hoping for some improvement in performance in Imola. The team apparently have some big upgrades on the way, but everything they're saying indicates that they won't be appearing until Canada in mid-June. What that means is that the teams behind them have the chance to leapfrog McLaren for at least the next 3 races. Alfa Romeo are one team who are perfectly placed to take advantage of a differential in development between themselves and McLaren. In Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas, they have 2 drivers capable of scoring points. The team had a new front wing in Australia and a revised beam wing in Miami, but Bottas says that more is needed in order to move the C43 further up the grid. Bottas has highlighted race pace as a weakness, the Finn having finished 13th in the Miami event after making Q3. For some reason, on a single lap on the soft tyre we were strong, but then in the long run I think that's where we are, said Bottas. Alfa Romeo's head of track engineering, Zevi Pihola, admitted that the team has to raise its game in all areas. "We don't have any specific corner where we're struggling," he said. "We've got a package for Imola and hopefully that will also help." According to Joe, the upgrade is worth somewhere between 2 and 4 tenths a lap, which in Miami would have been enough to get both cars into the points. They will have to battle against Haas though for those last few points, who according to Nico Hülkenberg will also be bringing some big upgrades to Imola. Either of the 2 teams could make that forward step and take the last few points positions behind the front 4 teams in Imola. So now you know what is coming. Who do you expect to improve the most in Imola? Will we see a big shuffle of the grid, or will it be business as usual? Let us know your predictions in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.